This landing page is so dialed in, it turned $4,000 of Facebook ad spend into $100,000 in new business in just 5 weeks. And today I'm going to show you exactly how we did it using our 3-step ATM system to turn strangers into sales. It is the same system I perfected after launching 600 plus funnels across 120 niches. The same one that scaled my agency to 7 figures while I traveled the world full time, and the same system billion-dollar brands like Linktree and Wayflyer trust me to install. So if you're ready to grow your business, but you just need a predictable, consistent, and scalable client acquisition system, stick around and I'll show you exactly how it works. Let's get started. All right, step 1 of the ATM system is all about attention. Let me show you what we did for this client. We will be testing a lot of different ads and we have been to scaling out the account. This will be a mixture of both stills and then also videos, right? When it comes to our videos, I'm gonna show you the 2 different types that we use in a second. Now, our most and bestest performing still is this one here. But it's not just the still, right? There's the creative, there's the copy, and there's the headline. And all of this actually just works because we figure out who the target market is, and then we have the right inputs into our ads. I'm gonna show you more on that in just a second. For now, these are our top performing, and we've got them running in obviously multiple versions. But with this client, when they first came on board, they're awesome, right? And they have all of the ingredients to be successful. And what I find with all of my clients or any of my coaching members, they've got all these ingredients, they've got really unique story, they've got social proof, they get the results, they've got the authority, whatever it is, right? But they can't figure out how many or in what order these ingredients should move into their recipe, like their strategy, and then they don't really know how to cook it up. And that's where we come in. So when we're interviewing our clients, we're always trying to figure out what are the really interesting stories about you? What are the things that are gonna help to show that you're not just better, but different? And so for this amazing client, one of those things is that she's literally helped some of the biggest Shark Tank brands to protect themselves from a tsunami of copycats and knockoffs. So this is a still that we have used a lot in our campaigns that always does really, really well. And it says, revealed, how these Shark Tank brands are taking down knockoff products and recovering millions, and how your brand can too. Super direct, super to the point, and somebody who is suffering from this issue is going to resonate with this straight away. It also helps because she's got this awesome imagery of herself as well. But then the other thing is in the ad copy. So when we're creating the ad copy, we want it to be very conversational, and we often test a lot of story-based copy. You'll also notice that our copy is very long form. And whenever I have new media buyers come in, they're always like, no, long form shit, like it needs to be short. Then they test it and then they see the light and they see that long form pretty much always outperforms short form. Okay, so let's look at the copy. That very first line is the hook. So we will usually test out different hooks in the first couple of lines. So this one's more knockoffs, more lost sales. Smart brands aren't just removing fakes, they're reclaiming value. So we would have a few of these going on. Now, they're stealing everything you've built. You created the product, you built the brand, you did the marketing, and now they're using your images to sell cheap knockoffs on Amazon, TikTok Shop, and hundreds of other platforms. The worst part, every single day, they're taking money directly out of your pocket. So far here you can see it's that problem agitate, right? But when we do our marketing, we're very careful not to whip people up into a very negative frenzy and to harp on about this too much. So we're going to want to start talking about shortly about, okay, what's the hope and what's the next part, right? However, you need to balance that with like showing that you understand them. And the feedback that we've already got from this client, even early days into the campaign, is that the leads that are coming are like, holy shit, you are talking to me. Like, how did you know this? It feels like you're ripping a page out of my journal. This is so good. So the worst part, every single day they're taking money directly out of your product pocket, money that should be yours. And those traditional takedown notices your lawyer recommended, right? And we know this because we know what they've tried before. And so that's why all of this lands, is because we've actually done the research. We actually listened to the sales calls. We read all of the Reddit scripts, all of the Reddit threads, all of this. We actually understand what is that story. We're taking those ingredients and turning it into a narrative that people go, yes, you get me. They're only a temporary fix. The counterfeits just create new accounts and start over within hours. This constant game of whack-a-mole isn't just frustrating, it's financially devastating. Anyway, so it goes on and on and on. And then it starts to get into the proof. We've recovered nearly 468,000 in stolen revenue for them. Money that would have vanished into counterfeiter pockets. The difference? Our knock out the knockoffs process. So this is what we worked with them, because all of our clients, they have a system. They've just never given it a cool name, and they've never really thought about, well, how does the system work, right? And so we know that for this target market that we're targeting, they've tried other stuff before. They've usually tried something else before, right? They're a sophisticated market. And so with a proprietary system, it helps to show, one, we've got a proven, repeatable system to get results, but two, it also helps us to show why we're not just better, but different. And this is really important when you are going into markets who have tried to solve their problem before, because if you sound like more of the same of what they've already tried, they're not going to want to work with you. So here we start to flesh this out. We don't just identify counterfeits, we build a comprehensive case against them. We don't just file takedowns, we freeze counterfeiter accounts and their funds, blah, blah, blah. Why does this work when traditional methods fail? Because we understand e-commerce at a level most IP attorneys simply don't. Even just that word, because, is super powerful in your marketing. Why does it work? Because. And basically, like most of the time, the brain switches off. It doesn't even listen to what comes next. It's just, you said the word because, so it must be true. We know exactly how to make platforms like Amazon and TikTok actually enforce your rights. The reality is that every day you continue with ineffective takedowns is another day counterfeiters profit from your hard work. But it doesn't have to be this way. Claim your free 30-minute knockoff defense consultation today and discover the offer. I'll talk a bit more about that on the landing page. Now, when we are creating this, we have to understand with our ads, what level of awareness are they in, right? We can't be going out to a problem-aware market with a most aware solution. So I'll show you that in a second as well. Okay, first of all, let's look at one of their video ads. So the other thing that we're doing on this account is our AI avatar videos. Now, when we do AI avatar videos, I'm very conscious, and so is my team, for them to not be unethical. So we're not pretending to be a client. We're not pretending, like, you know how people are using it for like product reviews and stuff? That's icky. It's more like a storyteller, brand ambassador talking about things. So let's have a look. We've got a couple in here, and one of them are absolutely crushing. We'll play that for you now.
Here's exactly how Shark Tank brands fight against copycats and knockoffs. This Shark Tank success story with massive sales and loyal customers. But their success put a target on their back. Hundreds of
So again, here we've seen in our copy and in our other ads that Shark Tank hook, that Shark Tank angle is going really, really well. This person, also this avatar, also looks like their market, right? And then we're using a lot of that same language. We're also very conscious with this client, considering it is like the client is somebody who takes down counterfeits and things that they do wrong, that even you'll notice in the B-roll, we created that with AI. So the B-roll at the start, we couldn't show real Shark Tank pictures because that's like illegal.
Here's exactly how.
So we just like kind of made something on AI that looks like it.
This Shark Tank
and then here, not real Amazon. We made that with AI. And so it goes on and on, but you'll notice that every couple of seconds, we're changing what's going on the screen, but we always have the captions coming up, and the captions are always around chin height when it's with a human, because the brain wants to look at the mouth and it wants to look at the captions as well. Let's keep watching.
And even their brand names. These counterfeits weren't just annoying, they were stealing millions in revenue, damaging customer trust, and threatening retail partnerships. When knockoffs target a successful brand like this, traditional legal approach.
Cool. And you can kind of see it looks a bit like a UGC ad. It looks a bit like something you might see on TikTok, and that's on purpose, right? You can do super hyper polished ads, and for some markets and for some brands they work, and sometimes you have a mix of them. But when we're doing ads like this, it allows us to pump out creative very, very quickly. We'll keep watching in case you want to see more.
Approaches simply don't work fast enough. That's why Shark Tank brands come to Esca Legal, one of America's leading IP and protection lawyers for e-commerce brands. They are top-ranked lawyers in America, specializing in this type of defense for brands. They secured protection and shut down hundreds of copycat stores. If you're an e-commerce brand owner with over $1 million in annual revenue,
and then there we have qualified them over $1 million in annual revenue.
And you're being targeted by knockoffs, we can help you too. Apply for your free, no obligation,
and then the call to action to go to the offer, right? And so that's what we want to do. The next step, what's the next micro step in the funnel? And so with these ads, we are getting booked qualified leads on average since we started for about $137. The landing page is converting at an average 14.49%, and the lead to booking rate is about 64%. This is still the early days of the campaign on a low budget, so we are making sure the economics are right to scale by tightening up the funnel. And the funnel is step 2 of the ATM system. That is the trust engine. It's where we send the traffic that click to convert it into a highly qualified leads. And there are 3 parts to this. The first is the digital appointment setter, aka the landing page, and I'm going to break down the landing page in just a minute. But this whole system is completely useless unless we get the mathing of the funnel. There is a simple formula for any marketing campaign, right? Economics plus psychology times technology. So first of all, we've got to get the mathing, no matter whether it's an agency client or whether it's a coaching client coming in. So this is just one of the templates we use, but the first thing we do is actually figure out, okay, how much money do you need to make? How many clients do you want to bring in? So whether it's 5 or 10, it doesn't really matter. What I see most people forgetting when it comes to marketing is that the whole point of marketing is to assist the business to hit its goals. So when a client comes to us, we have and they often haven't thought about that, and that's okay, that's why we're here. But it's like, well, how many clients do you need? Oh, we're not sure. How many leads do you want? I don't know, like 100? Like they don't actually know what the targets are. Now the danger in that is you can bring on too many leads or too many clients and your fulfillment actually can't keep up, or you're just doing stuff and wasting your money and not getting any results. So we have to make the math. So what we do is how many clients do you want? What's your average retainer, whatever. And then that tells us how many leads we need. But what we can do now is, because the funnel's not optional, right? The funnel's just every single touch point somebody's gonna have with us in this trust engine. Each touch point is a potential revenue leak. So if we can tweak all of this, we're going to be able to get them and acquire customers at scale more profitably, especially when you start wanting to spend 50K, 100K, $500,000 a month on ads. Now, when people do come to me, it can either be in a 0 to 1 or a 1 to 100, right? 0 to 1 is like getting the thing up and running and then you scale it. 1 to 100 is usually like, hey, we're spending 50K, 100K, $500,000, whatever, and we can't figure out how to go to the next level. Usually, it's either the economics, the psychology, or the technology is broken. Always. I also use that formula to hire marketers as an FYI. So anyway, back to this funnel. So as I was saying, this client's funnel, she was very generous in letting me share this on YouTube with you. It's still pretty new and I'll keep updating you as it gets better results, and I'll show you the tests and the changes that we do. But we're gonna have to see now, to actually be able to scale the ad spend, how to tighten up some of this. So at the moment, I think I just said that the booked calls, how many leads are booking a call is 64%. How many of them are showing up? I forgot what that was. I think it's like 70%. How many have qualified, and the close rate? I think that's higher because she's freaking awesome. Anyway, and see how that starts to impact our leads, right? We actually start to know how many leads we need. But I also know that I want to get this to like 80%. So that's where my team's going to focus. And I also have a playbook for, okay, if we're not getting booked calls, what's broken in the funnel, right? And often that might be your offer, but oftentimes it's just like the functionality of the calendar. So when I talk about this, the total leads, that's who fills in the form. Cool, we've captured the lead. Then they had, if they're qualified and we didn't DQ them, disqualify, they have the opportunity to book into the calendar. Then moving down, the show up rate. If you don't have enough people showing up, that's usually because you haven't built enough anticipation or excitement. And that means usually that your offer is no good and your targeting and your messaging was off, which means that they haven't put any value onto your call. That's usually the biggest thing. Now, it might also mean that you've allowed them to book way too far out. So usually we would have our calendars open, like 3 to 5 business days in advance. Again, it can depend on the market. But if your show up rate is less than like 60%, that's very urgent to fix. And that's the whole thing when it comes to funnels that a lot of people get wrong about CRO, conversion rate optimization, is they don't actually know where to correctly identify which part of the funnel is broken, where they should focus, how they can tell a story between quantitative, which is numbers, what I'm showing you, and qualitative data, and then how to create an action plan to actually fix it. If your qualified leads are low, you're probably not repelling enough. in your ad or in your landing page or in your qualification, right? So I see a lot of people, they have these armies of setters, and it's not like bad to have setters like in your DMs or whatever, but for this particular type of funnel, there's a book a call funnel, right? So we're trying to find people who are in the market now. So what happens is if I book one of these in for one of our offers, which is like, hey, get the free plan, and then you send them through to a setter, we've just put friction in the process. We've just put an unnecessary step. But people usually send them to a setter because they don't know how to qualify in the marketing. When you actually get your like copy dialed in on the ad level, on the landing page, which I'm going to show you in a second, and I'm going to show you how to do that, then you have the multi-step questions, which I'll show you in a second on the landing page. You don't really need those setters because we have pre-framed and warmed up and got people excited about the offer that it just is jarring to not be talking to your closer. And then finally, your close rate. Really, I'd like to see all of my clients at 20 to 30%. And if anyone comes to me who wants to work with the agency and they're closing less than that, it's usually that you have a sales problem. Like I've had clients come to me and they're on like a 5% close rate. And it's like, well, yeah, let's have a little look-sees at that. Do you really have a lead gen problem? You would need 714 leads, my man. Or if you're actually closing goods, and see how these numbers start to really, really affect that lead number. Anyway, know your math. The next part of the equation, we have the economics, is the mathing, is the psychology. And what we are trying to create here is a system of mass persuasion. And if you want to persuade somebody, you have to understand how they think, what language they use, what motivates them, what is their crappy before state, what's their desired after state, blah, blah, blah. So when we're doing this for agency clients or for coaching, students, whatever, it's a game plan, right? And most people don't think about how to win. So in this game plan, I'll show you a couple of things. Pretty much the most important part that we do is the target market. Why? Marketing's just inputs and outputs, right? Garbage in, garbage out. And so if your marketing's not working and it's not resonating, you have the economics, the psychology, or maybe the technology cooked. Like you've done it wrong. And what we want to figure out here with our target market is, okay, what are we really selling? In their words. What do they want and what are they excited about? So when we're creating our avatar, we always give them a name. We'll ask our client, cool, who's like your favorite customer, your dream client that you want to bring in more of? Now, most of our clients, they're not bringing in enough of those people. They're not trying to flood their inbox with a bajillion million leads. They're trying to find whales, right? And so when we're creating this, we have to think, okay, cool, well, who is your whale? Is there a large enough total addressable market to find them on cold? And how do we be niche and narrow enough that it's like laser focused on them, but broad enough that we can scale the campaign and find more people? Or do we have to have multiple funnels running at once to different audiences? So of course we know the demographics, but a lot of people stop here, right? So the next thing is, okay, well, what's their crappy before state? How can we viscerally understand this? Now this is like our recipe book, but when we're getting the ingredients, that comes from our research. So when we're doing something like this for a client, we will get all of their sales call transcripts. We will go through Reddit, whatever. We will go through different forums. We'll go through all testimonials. And then we also send out a survey to all of their past customers and clients. Ideally, we get minimum 100 responses. And you just ethically bribe people. And then you can get them to do the survey. And then that gives you the language to create this document. Now, because AI is so good, this stuff used to take me, research used to take me easy 40 to 100 hours on a big funnel, a big client. Now, because I understand how to train a prompt, we can get it very, very quick. So we write quite a visceral before state so that we truly understand them. We nail their dream outcome. Okay, cool. What are we really selling? We understand things like the 5 buyer decision questions. What are they going to have on their mind? We understand, most importantly, what stage of the buyer's journey are they in, aka their level of awareness. This is one of the things that people just don't think about in their marketing, and it's from a book called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. And what I find is if I don't know this, it's very hard for me to enter the conversation going on in their head, right? And so here, basically what I want to get across is nobody wakes up one day and wants what you sell, right? Or they're not just looking for what you sell. They go through these stages of awareness, whether you hold their hand or not. And it's very different to talk to somebody who's problem aware. If you were looking for a doctor, oh, I have a cough. I don't know, I just know I've got a cough. And then if you're solution aware, okay, I've got a cough, I need cough drops, or go to a doctor, or I'm going to need herbal tea. I don't know, I'm kind of like figuring it out. Then it's product aware. Okay, it's the comparison phase. Cool. I know I want to go to a doctor. I'm going to start researching the different doctors. I'm looking at, like, I've chosen that, and now I'm looking at the different solutions. And then there's most aware. They know what you sell. They are ready to buy it. I've chosen my doctor, but I just haven't spoken to them yet. So maybe I'm trying to wait for a good offer that's like $30 for my first visit to the doctor or whatever, right? And you can imagine the disconnect when you're trying to persuade somebody if you're going out to a problem-aware market with a most aware message and a most aware offer. So this is hopefully the big takeaway from the video, and I got a few more. Okay, so there's that. Then you got to understand what have they tried before, because again, we have to show how we're going to be different. I'll show you how we do that on our digital salespeople. What are their top pain points? What are their top 5 goals? And this is not just in here for like mental masturbation or just to do it, right? Because marketing is just inputs and outputs, garbage in, garbage out. And I know that these certain components then go onto our sales page and they go into our emails, etc., so that we can persuade people at scale with human psychology. And just to really keep harping on about the technology stuff, pretty much no one does this, economics and the psychology. And that's why I'm really passionate about teaching it. And they get really obsessed with the technology, especially right now with AI. But my belief is, and I think I'm right, is that technology is just an accelerator. 1,000 times 0 is still 0. So there's all of these businesses plugging in all this crazy AI shit, and they just feel overwhelmed. They're just slopping turds in their keyboards because they don't actually know how to use it. And so for me, when AI first came out, I was a bit worried, right? I was like, oh, holy shit. Like, my competitive moat, which was that I could do direct response and I could do these funnels, I was like, wow, like people are going to be able to do this now. And it's like, no, they can't. The only reason this works for me is because I took 10 years to master it, and I can like prompt it properly, like because I've trained team members for like 7 years. And now because I actually know what is world class, when the AI hallucinates or it gives me slop, I can push back on it and I can keep making it better. But without these components, right, your AI, your technology doesn't work. And so many clients are like just focused on getting their like 7th CRM in the last 2 years, and they think that's going to solve it, and they just haven't done this. So there you go. Okay, then the next big component of our recipe, of our psychology, is the messaging and the differentiation. How are we going to make you an authority, and how are we going to make you stand out from the noise? When you do marketing, it's black and white. In a business, you're either a commodity or you're an authority. That's it. And who do you think gets paid the most? Who do you think actually attracts the best clients? Dan Kennedy has this great saying that I love, which is whales mate with whales. If you want premium, al dente, amazing clients, you got to look the part, right? But the problem is everybody's copying other people's marketing, and other people's marketing doesn't even work. So they all sound the same, but they all sound like the shit same. Okay, so what we want to nail here is, of course, like core business messaging. I think I'll do another video on that. And your, like, we call these your power differentiators and your USPs, and then your proprietary system as well. Now, that gives us our economics, and then that gives us our psychology, the game plan, and then we can start to execute, right? So when it comes to marketing, we have research, strategy, execution. What I see people doing wrong is they jump straight into execution, but it's inputs and outputs. So if you don't do this stuff, you can't make anything good. So we've already seen the ads. Let's look at the landing page. And when we do our pages, yes, they already look good on mobile, like everything like is single column. And the most important part really is the above the fold. So we do a lot of our split testing here in the messaging and in the headline. So we have our eyebrow, and this is really to like call them out. A copycat's destroying your brand and IP. If that's happening to you, you freaking know you're in the right spot. Claim your free knockoff defense consultation with the brand protection attorney trusted by top Shark Tank brands. Interesting. Knockoff defense consultation. That is our offer. The most important part on our digital appointment setup. Why? Because even though we're not selling something on this page, we're still selling, getting the lead, right? And with our offer, what we're trying to do is get them to take the next micro step with us. So what I see a lot of people getting wrong when it comes to an offer is they just don't even have one on their landing page, which is a big no-no, but they forget you have to get a lead before you can get a sale. And although they're not paying for something right now, there's still an exchange of value. We're gonna be getting their information, and then we're going to expect them to come to a call. If we're not showing how that call is more valuable, right, to them and is going to help them, whether they sign up with us or not, they're not going to come on that call because it's going to feel like it's some sleazy commission breath sales call that nobody wants to go on. Okay, so then we have our subhead, claim your free 30-minute knockoff defense consultation and get your free brand protection audit and recovery game plan to find copycats, shut them down, and get your revenue back ASAP. We know that's what people want because it's from that target market avatar. It's their big 3 goals, right? Call to action, yes, I want to stop the fakes. Free, confidential, no obligation. So as I said, on average, last week this page was at 17%, but it's too early. I'm not going to hang my hat up on that. So on average, it's on 14%, which is bloody bananas for a brand new campaign on cold traffic, right? So one question people often ask me is, okay, should I do a VSL? Do I need a VSL? Do I need a video? And a VSL is a video sales letter, if you weren't sure. Here's my answer to that. Well, yes, but if you're going from 0 to 1, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing a VSL straight away because you're still figuring out your messaging. You're still figuring out what's going to resonate. So I personally wouldn't put the time and the resources and the energy into a VSL until I see what's working on the ad level, until I've had more sales calls, until I'm really clear on what those inputs are going to be on the script. Then you can add a VSL onto the page and test it out. The other thing is, if you have someone who's like not charismatic or you just cook the VSL, it can actually really hurt the page. Anyway, scrolling down, we've got trusted by, so straight away we're hitting it with proof, and then we have our lead. If knockoffs are stealing your products, your customers, and your future, here's exactly how to stop them. And if you've watched any of my other pages, like page teardowns, you know that we often follow a similar format, right? We always have this lead. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. It always depends on how much education they need. But we always have these 3 big things here. They're like these 3 big problems, and they're quite visceral. Copycats aren't just annoying, they are an existential threat to everything you've built. So what we're doing here is problem, agitate, solve. But there is another path. At Eska Legal, we've pioneered the knockout the knockoffs system. That's this proprietary system that doesn't just remove fakes, it recovers your stolen revenue and makes counterfeiters think twice before targeting you again. Now, when this client came to us, she's already freaking awesome, right? But what happens is when someone comes to us, like they have like the curse of knowledge. So they feel very stuck because they know that they're better. They just can't figure out how to articulate it onto their marketing. And that's what we do. That's what we help people with for our agency or for our coaching programs. And it's very hard to read the label from inside the bottle. I know, because the most humbling experience of my life is when I have to go and do my own marketing. It's so hard because I'm like, I just want to talk about all this stuff, and it's like, no one gives a shit about that. You gotta like make the target market avatar. You gotta understand who they are. So with this, we help them to figure out, okay, well, what do people actually want? What can we call this system? What is the system? And then what's all your social proof, right? They have all the ingredients. It's just, we just need to come in and help them to like organize the ingredients into a recipe and then cook that recipe up, which is here. So then we start to have some proof. I want to show you a bit more of the page and then more proof straight away. So we recovered lost counterfeit sales for overnight blowout. Tush Baby stopped hundreds of knockoffs. Bala Bengals is taking down the fakes and then giving a little overview. Luckily, this client's awesome, so she had already like heaps of great images that we could use on here. How our system works to protect you from counterfeits. Boom, we have a proven repeatable system. Eliminates, freezes, recover your money and build. And because in our research, when we looked at all of the different competitors, they were only little different bits and pieces, like I was telling you in the ad. So here, this is like, wow, you do all of this, you take care of all of this. Nobody's really doing this in the market, so it excites people. We have more testimonials. We usually have this section as well, like this 6 reasons why. Again, this page is our digital appointment setter. We're just trying to show somebody how we're going to help them and get them convinced to book into the call. I'm not trying to do more than that. I'm trying to pre-frame them and warm them up and make sure it's only qualified leads, but I'm not trying to close them on here, right? So I'm trying to get them excited. 7 reasons why Eska Legal is your brand's best defense. Best defense. We find the fakes, proactive legal action, blah, blah, blah. We're making it really easy for people to digest the information. Old school direct response is usually like super long form, big slabs of text. When we do our marketing for the agency or for our programs, we often do more like that. That's like the style we like. But for our clients, we usually use more of a brand response, right? So brand response being brand, it's like true to the brand tone and voice, and then it's still direct response, just without the steak nice or the sham wow. We introduce the team because that's a big selling point for them and people care about that. We build more proof here, like with a bit of a design block, the how it works, step 1, step 2, step 3. So we're giving that operational transparency. So there's no like friction or hesitation of like, oh, what happens after I click this button, right? We're telling them. Okay, and then we have the offer section. Okay, book your free 30-minute knockoff defense consultation. And we've said it's free, right? Because often lawyers like to charge for things and then people freak out, and get a custom plan to remove fakes and recover lost revenue. We can offer something like this because we are going to qualify them and disqualify them in our process. Plus, you get a free brand protection audit and recovery game plan to find knockoffs, shut them down, and get paid back. So you're going to be more valuable out of this whether you go ahead with us or not. Now, what usually happens is our clients or our coaching members, they are already giving a lot of value in their sales call, but they're not even telling people, right? They're like, yeah, we do this and we tell them this and we help them figure out that. I'm like, yeah, but you don't say anything. You just say book a sales call. So often all we're doing is just packaging up the inherent value of that call because it's more like a consultation. And when you have qualified adequately at the marketing level, you can spend time doing that because your close rates go up. Anyway, okay, so here's what we cover. Long-term takedown strategy, revenue recovery process, impenetrable brand protection, and a bonus 90-day protection roadmap. Now, why would we give this away? Well, we're only going to speak to good fit leads, and then we're going to show them, hey, this is the plan. Would you like to pay us to do this for you? We already know that they need a lawyer, a specialist to do this. So it's better to show them, hey, this is what we would do. This is the scope. It's part of the process anyway in this. Then we have our FAQs. And then we have our little full stop on the page. So that is our digital appointment setter who is booking in those qualified leads. Now that we have all of this set up, we will optimize the funnel based on sales team feedback, including analyzing sales calls and treating marketing and sales like one system. And then we will improve on the data that we are seeing. Now, when it comes to step 3 of the ATM system, first we had attention. That was the ads that I was showing you. Then we had the trust engine. That was the funnel. So we have the landing page, we have the qualification system, we have the calendar page, we have a thank you page. I didn't show you all of that. And then we have all of our email and SMS automations, internal notifications to the sales team, etc. Then we have M, the money engine, and that is effectively your sales choreography of how you turn that qualified lead into a sale. Now, this usually depends on our clients and whether they have a big sales team, whether they're founder-led sales, whether they're good at sales, whether they're doing cold for the first time. But what we want to do here is just make sure that we are thinking about this as a sales choreography and not winging it, right? So some of the things that I recommend is don't have a script, have a flow, but just make sure that you are actually preparing for the calls, that you have the right sales enablement tools from marketing, and then again, you are setting up those feedback loops between marketing and sales. If you want to learn more about how to create high converting landing pages that actually book you in qualified leads, you can watch this video next, which is some of my best client landing page examples of 2025. But if you want somebody to install this system for you into your business, you can apply to work with me and my agency, and we take care of it all for you in scaling your ads. I'll see you on the next video.